Hi everyone, we are Alessio
And I am Paola.
and we are the two of the chef of the Florence Food and Wine Academy. Just that yesterday we ran a class with Temis about pizza and gelato, and now we're here to tell you some tips, some of the best tips to make a nice pizza and gelato at home. It's something very easy actually to make it, right?
Okay, so should you start with the pizza or with the gelato?
Let's start from pizza, okay?
So I think the main point that we should clear for you guys is here in Italy, we try always to take the best ingredients. So either for pizza or for gelato, what we have is like fresh and seasonality. So when we start, for example, with pizza, what we try to make is a very nice sauce, a tomato sauce, which is very simple. And then we have basil, we have onion, we have olives. But the main important things are the base, okay? The dough, right?
Right. Choosing the best ingredients, the freshest one is absolutely a key word when we talk about pizza. It's the most important thing. Pizza, it's easy, just a few things. So flour is always flour, you know, the bread flour, 00 is always the best. Yeast, water to start, and then picking up a very good tomato sauce is always important, as well as the mozzarella and all the other toppings, but really the tomato sauce is one of the most important things.
Okay, and
No, you're fine.
the flour, you know, the elasticity,
Yeah.
okay, to get a very nice dough, you should choose a flour that has a lot of gluten. I mean, a very important quality or quantity of gluten, because that is what is going to give the elasticity to the dough. If you don't get elasticity, it will be very hard to make a pizza dough, right?
You're right, exactly. And the other very important step is the rising. So the more you let the dough rising, it means you can use less yeast. That is always good to use less yeast possible, because the pizza comes out always good with the minimum amount of yeast possible. And let it rise with calm. Don't rush the rising, like 3, 4, 5 hours under a wet cloth, so to preserve the humidity, because we need to keep it humid, otherwise it dries out. But let it rise 3, 4 hours. And if you have made a dough for more than one pizza, like 7, 8, 9, 10 pizzas altogether, after the first 4, 5 hours, the first 4 or 5 hours of rising, I would suggest you to slice, to cut, to separate all the single pizza, all the single balls, and let them rise once again for 2, 3 hours anymore. In Italy we used to call it double rising, and it's something that makes the texture of the base of your pizza way more tender, soft, and even crunchy on the outside, so it's something nice you should try.
Another thing very important is the yeast. So there are two types of yeast: the fresh and the natural yeast, and the dry yeast. Okay, so dry yeast comes in a very, like, let's say, like a powder. So in order to use it, you have to activate. But we like to use the fresh and natural yeast because it's taken from the beer making process. Okay, so it's a very nice, and let's say if you try to smell it, you will feel the beer, like the smell of the beer, and you don't have to activate it before making it. Okay, so what you need to do is to take some room temperature water and mix it with some yeast. Another thing that you can use, it's a natural, what we call it lievito madre, okay, which is something that you can create, which is another yeast that you make with just flour and water, and you have to feed it, because the yeast is like a bacteria. So as any kind of living, say, how to say that?
Living creatures or
any kind of bacteria needs to have some food, and the food for the yeast, let's say it's the sugar.
Yeah.
So every day, if you make lievito madre, you have to feed your lievito with some flour and some water. So let's make it like very clear. You have the many types of yeast. So you have the dry one that you have to activate before doing it, and you can add some sugar. Then you have the natural or the fresh yeast, which is the one that is taken from the beer making process, and the other one is the one that you can make at home with some flour and some water. But let's say you have to be very careful with that yeast, because you have to feed it every day, otherwise it won't work.
And you can even start from, like, you make the dough one day, you can save a little part of it on the side someday, and then by keeping it like wrapped in plastic, that it has some yeast inside, so every day you pull it out from the fridge is where you have to keep it. You pull it out from the fridge, and you knead every day a little bit. That dough is gonna create, the yeast is gonna be fed and it's gonna survive, so it's gonna like keep working, and that is your natural yeast. That is what we call the mother of the yeast, the lievito madre. These are, I think, the most important tips to make a good pizza. Once you use a good amount of ingredients, you let it rise for a good amount of time, even with the double rising. Using a good yeast, and the best is what you can actually make. I think you're very much pretty sure to make what you get at the end. Remember this, pizza is not something that you know what you get at the end just by following measures, because it gives you a different result every day, even with the same amount of ingredients. In Italy we say when it rains we don't make pizza. It's not true, we lie sometimes, we make pizza even when it rains, but just to give you an idea of even how much the humidity in the air have a really big influence on the final result.
Another thing very important, Alex, the oven.
The oven, right, the temperature of the oven.
If you don't have a professional oven, what you can buy is a fixed stone, okay, which is like a stone that absorbs all the heat. So if you have it at home, you have to put it in the oven for half an hour, 40 minutes before putting the pizza inside of the oven, and that's how you are going to try to reach the high temperature that you need for the pizza.
Because a good pizza cooks fast, so never keep a pizza in the oven for more than 10 minutes, for example. This is the reason why we need a very high temperature. The pizza needs to be ready in 3-4 minutes, otherwise what happens? All the toppings are completely burnt, and maybe the base is still dough if it's not hot enough, okay? So work with a very high heat, the highest possible.